Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start and introduce our star in this webinar, CA Bimal sir, please everybody send me a thumbs up so I know everybody is listening us. The moment I see, I'll immediately start with the process. All right. So many thumbs up. Thank you, everyone. So first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to everyone. I am Harsh Agarwal, your host and possibly your host as well, because I will maneuver everything that is being done today in the webinar. Sir will be guiding us through the esteemed and entitled topic of the day, which is very, very important as how we maneuver the SC's landmark ruling on Section 16, subsection 2C, the GST Act, the key takeaways. So before we start, you can see we are having Q&A tab. On that, please post your questions. Generally, the webinar that Sir do, you have different property there. Here we have question and answer. Post your questions. I'll be the one who will be sending it to Sir and dictating the question to you, taking your name. Stay with us till the last because then you will get your questions answered. Now, it is my proud privilege to introduce to you a stalwart in the field of taxation and finance, Sri C.A. Bimal Jain sir, a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India since '94. Bimal sir brings over 30 years of rich and diverse experience in tax laws, compliance, corporate finance, and strategic advisory. Armed with a bachelor's degree in law and qualification as an SAP financial controlling consultant, he has worked with marquee organizations such as LG, Honda, Hindustan Development, and currently serves as executive director at A to Z Tax Corp LLP. Bimal sir is a name synonymous with clarity and complete control in this complex world of GST and taxation. He holds the rare distinction of being a keynote speaker at the Guinness World Record event for the largest taxation lesson on GST organized by ICSI, which saw over 4,500 participants and surpassed the previous record held by Japan. His contributions has been widely recognized as Young Achievement Award at Igniting Minds, Best Speaker Award from NIRC of ICAI, multiple accolades from Amity Law School, Noida, and Best Participating Faculty by ICSI. So today in this special webinar, we are truly fortunate to have his guidance, his escapade about the topic, and practical insights that he brings with him and his experience. Without further ado, please join me in extending a very warm welcome to a luminary in the world of taxation, CA Bimal sir. Claps for him. And sir, over to you.
Thank you, Hers, for lovely introduction. And thank you, Zoho Books, for this lovely series, hand-holding series, wherein we are trying to simplify GST, though it is not a good and simple tax, but still we are trying our best to make it good and simple tax. And today's topic is a hot topic, much awaited topic of the day. And recently we all are discussing this judgment of Honorable Supreme Court in the case of Bhandari Scrap Traders, which is relevant for Section 16, subsection 2, Clause C of CGST Act. So thanking all the viewers who are taking out time and joining this webinar. And today we are going to discuss each and every aspect, because as per Honorable Supreme Court, constitutional validity is being upheld for Section 16, subsection 2, Clause C. But can it be applied in all the cases where department allege fake input tax credit? We are going to Section 2, read with Rule 37A, and relevance of this judgment in what context? Because the Honorable Supreme Court has relied upon Gujarat High Court judgment of Maruti Enterprises. So today, 1 hour, a deep discussion on the interpretation part and what the context Gujarat High Court judgment has come and what we need to look into. We will discuss at length and we'll try to simplify whether this judgment can be obiter dicta or ratio decidendi. So let's start with, now what is today's position? If you look at today, as a buyer, as an honest and genuine buyer. You all are a genuine and honest buyer. Assume for all discussion, I'm your supplier and you all are genuine and honest buyer. I supplied the goods from Delhi to Tamil Nadu. Charge IGST. You have remitted, you have paid the amount to the supplier and supplier did not deposit with the government exchequer. So government has not collected the tax. Whose fault? Supplier's fault. You as a genuine and honest buyer has paid the amount to the supplier. The supplier did not deposit with the government exchequer. Question is whether you can avail the credit or not. If you go to section 16, subsection 2, clause C, which is one of the condition. So what are the conditions for availing credit? Clause A, you should have tax invoice. Clause B, you must receive goods or services. Clause C, which is a topic of the day, your supplier must have paid taxes either through e-cash ledger or through e-credit ledger. Clause D, being recipient, you are regularly filing your GST return under section 39, which is GSTR 3B. Fifth condition got introduced from 1st January 2022 that whatever credit you are availing in 3B must match with GSTR 2B. And sixth condition, if there is any restriction as prescribed under section 38, then you will not be given credit. So these are the 6 conditions, but the important one, clause C, under section 16, subsection 2. So supplier did not deposit whether you can avail the credit or not. So this was the question. And question is constitutional validity of this provision. Now, Bhandari scrap traders, if you look at this judgment, what Honorable Supreme Court has relied and said. First of all, Tripura High Court judgment in the case of Sahil Enterprises. In that case, it was held that constitutionally valid, section 16, subsection 2, clause C, only read down the provision to protect genuine buyer. So constitutionally valid, only read down to the extent and to protect genuine buyer, purchaser. Then we got Shanti Kiran India Limited, Quest Merchandising. It is from that perspective. In that judgment, it is being held and what is being concluded that credit can't be denied to the buyer. Your credit can't be denied for the fault of supplier of non-payment of taxes. This was VAT judgment from Delhi VAT perspective. Now, third, an important judgment which was accepted by Honorable Supreme Court and stated in complete and respectful agreement of what is being held by Gujarat High Court, that section 16, subsection 2, clause C is constitutionally valid and cannot be read down. Now, this is the context, Bhandari scrap traders. We all are now worrying what happened. If Honorable Supreme Court has said it is constitutionally valid, does it mean that you as a buyer paid the amount to the supplier? And if you don't get the credit, it is double bailing. And second, department demand interest and then penalty. And penalty under section 74, alleging is a case of fraud, willful misstatement, suppression of fact. You being genuine and honest buyer paid the amount to the defaulting supplier. We both are registered, supplier and recipient both are registered. Department has given GST registration to both of us. There are challenges which we are going to discuss. If we look at this Bhandari scrap traders relying on Gujarat High Court judgment of Maruti Enterprises. What is the repercussion we are going to discuss? But today it is double whammy with interest, penalty, and that too under section 74. Now, what are the problem we all are facing? Genuine and honest buyer is facing today. If this judgment is being decided on the face of it, what are the challenges we are facing, which we are saying it is not being considered? So what are the point not considered, and what is our, grievances from the recipient side, from the buyer side first? And you will agree with me, you can echo with me. And of course, at the end of this webinar, I will take your questions. But let's listen 1 hour carefully and echo wherever required. What are the grievances of genuine and honest buyer? First, initially, when GST got introduced, July 1, 17, there was no window available, no mechanism available, whereby you as a buyer can cross-check the supplier, even after collecting the tax, is not depositing the tax, because GST 2A was not available. It came from October 18, then evolving over a period of time. So initially 17, 18 and 18, 19, there was no window available. GST 2A came sometime starting October 2018 onwards. So 2A was not available. It is not only for the taxpayer, even department was not able to know, because 2A was not available. So first point of grievance. Second point of grievance. 2A made available, but we can't say with guarantee that invoice which recipient is having, on that supplier has paid the taxes. You can't say with guarantee, even though 2A is available. I hope you must be agreeing with me. If you're agreeing with me, please do thumbs up so that I can see that my viewers are agreeing with me. Second point, 2A available, but we can't say with guarantee that on that invoice, supplier has paid the taxes. So grievance number 2. Grievance number 3, which is important one. Honorable Gujarat High Court, as per Maruti Enterprises, has said that GST law has got built-in mechanism, right? I will come back to that one, built-in mechanism. What is that built-in mechanism? Section 41, subsection 2, read with Rule 37A. And keeping this provision in mind, they have distinguished the VAT judgment of Shanti Kiran India, Quest Merchandising of Supreme Court. So they have said the VAT judgment is not in parity with the GST law, not similar. VAT law was something different. GST law is something different. And why different? They relied this 41 subsection 2 of CGST Act, read with Rule 37A. So what is this provision? Listen very carefully. Provision H. If your supplier default in payment of tax, if I default, being supplier, in payment of tax, you as a recipient need to reverse credit. You need to reverse credit. And whenever this supplier pays the liability, you can re-avail the credit. This is 41 subsection 2. Very clear that if your supplier default, buyer need to reverse, and whenever supplier pays the liability, recipient can re-avail the credit. 41 subsection 2. What is Rule 37A? Rule 37A says, and you must be recalling, just I'm drawing your attention, just apply your mind while filing annual return for financial year 24-25. You have seen that. What was that provision? Let's say for 24-25, you have availed a credit on a particular invoice. you can avail the credit. There were two conditions. Condition number one, your supplier must pay the liability by 30th September 25 through GST 3B, Rule 37A. Your supplier must pay the liability by 30th September 25 through GST 3B related to financial year 24-25. If your supplier default, then as a buyer, you need to reverse credit by 30th November 25. So this was the Rule 37A. So keeping this provision in mind, Honorable Gujarat High Court has said there is built-in mechanism which was relied upon by Honorable Supreme Court. And they have said since built-in mechanism is available in GST law, hence there's no parity when we look at the VAT provision. The judgment of Shanti Kiran India, Quest Merchandising. So there's no parity. This is what the basis they have done. Now, having said that, what is the third point of grievance from the buyer, genuine buyer? And this is what we need to really understand and discuss. First, 41 subsection 2 of CGST Act got introduced prospectively from 1st October 2022. So date of introduction was 1st October 2022. Rule 37A got notified prospectively from 26 December 2022. Am I clear? So my first point of contention, and you can always say would be defense would be, sir, if some provision which is prospectively applicable from 1st October 2022, how you can apply for the past period? So if at all a buyer need to reverse credit on fault of supplier for non-payment, this provision was very first time got introduced from 1st October 2022. Prospectively, how you can apply for the past period? This we would be asking. So first point of contention. Second, if reversal provision hypothetically assumed, let's say buyer need to reverse credit for the fault of supplier of non-payment of taxes. Let's assume hypothetically, if this provision was existing, why then this 41 subsection 2 got substituted prospectively from October 1, 2022, meaning thereby for the past period, there was no provision of reversal for the buyer. There was no provision. That's what the interpretation. But then department will chip in and they will say, well, gee, we haven't got money. We haven't collected. Supplier did not deposit. And you will not reverse. What is my counter argument to them would be, sir, this provision prospectively applicable October 1, 2022, you're having backing of the provision demanding reversal. But prior to that, you're not having any provision for reversal. But what you're having, you could have invoked section 73, 74, 76. You could have gone to defaulting supplier, catch hold of his neck, and collected this tax from the defaulting supplier. What is 76 of CGST Act? Clearly saying if you have collected any amount as a tax, then it would be recovered from you. So you were having the provision. You did not invoke. You didn't initiate. And that was the Madras High Court judgment in the case of B.Y. Bethel Enterprises. What was that judgment? Department wanted to ask recipient to reverse credit because of supplier default for payment of taxes. When this was before Honorable Madras High Court, two important pointers were argued. The first point, Lordship, department is giving registration to both of us, supplier and recipient. They are demanding reversal from the buyer and not taking action against the defaulting supplier. How come it is doable, sir? When department giving registration to both of us, they are not taking any action against defaulting supplier and wanted buyer to reverse credit. How come it is doable? They must take action against the defaulting supplier, which was agreed in the judgment of Madras High Court. Second point, doctrine of impossibility. That for the beginning of GST period, 17-18, 18-19, even after coming 2A, we can't say with guarantee that the invoice on which recipient availing credit, on that the GST is being paid. There was no window, no mechanism available. So you cannot compel a person to do something impossible, buyer having no window available, and you're compelling him. 2A not available. Even after 2A, it can't be said with conformity. Invoice label matching with respect to payment is not available. So doctrine is lex non cogit ad impossibilia. You cannot compel a person to do something impossible, which they should have done. Department should have provided some window, some mechanism, which was not available. How you can penalize the genuine and honest buyer? And High Court judgment was you can't demand reversal from the buyer. You need to go back to defaulting supplier for recovery of taxes. Good judgment. And I'm drawing the context only why we are discussing all this thing and why these factors are important. And what is the way forward of these factors when we look at Bhandari scrap traders. So this is the point which I want to draw. Now, having said that, prospective versus retrospective. Now, coming back to the second important point, there can be two situations. And listen, these arguments are very good argument, and I will draw these arguments only from Gujarat High Court judgment of Maruti Enterprises. There are two ways to look at. In one situation, and here I would be needing your yes and no. So you have to listen me very carefully. I need your yes and no. That's the reason I'm telling you, you need to participate. The first one category, being recipient and honest buyer, you know that your supplier is not depositing the tax. Let's assume hypothetically, I'm telling you. Let's assume hypothetically. As a buyer, you are aware of that your supplier is not depositing the tax. And then question comes whether this credit is rightly denied, that this is not available. You are aware of that your supplier is not depositing. Hypothetically, though we are discussing other ground, but just apply your mind. You know that your supplier is not depositing. Then what will be your say? Is it right that you need to reverse credit? If I look at section 16, subsection 2, clause C, say yes or no. I want your answer in a question answer tab. Yes and no. You have to only say yes and no, so that we at least reach to some position. If you know, by the way, if you know by yourself that your supplier is not depositing, quite obvious this credit is not available to you. Not available to you. That is then constitutionally valid. But second situation, let's assume second situation. You have purchased the goods from Bimal Jain. You have all documentation. Invoice, receipt of goods means eBay bill, LR copy, Wigman slip, truck photo. You have downloaded the position status of GSTR 1 and 3B filing of supplier. So your L1 supplier, immediate supplier, filing 1 getting auto-populated in your 2A or 2B. And then also you're getting status of GSTR 3B filing of your L1 supplier, immediate supplier, which is filed, status is filed. So as per window available, mechanism available, you have all documents with you to substantiate it's a genuine purchase. Even your GSTN portal status is also saying that your supplier is filing 1 and 3B. 3B means payment of taxes, either through e-credit ledger or through e-cash ledger by your supplier. Now, in this case, what would be your say? Whether my credit can be denied on the pretext of section 16, subsection 2, clause C. I'm making it more little, interesting to you. L1 immediate supplier compliant, but there is L2 and L3 supplier in same supply chain. And let's say they have not deposited the tax. Very carefully, immediate supplier has complied with, its compliance status is visible, status is filed, getting auto-populated in your 2A, 2B. You have all documentation, but the challenge is your L2 and L3 may be in same supply chain. They have not filed 3B. They have filed only 1. Taxes are not being paid. Can this be alleged? Can this be alleged that credit is not available to you because of section 16, subsection 2, clause C? I hope my question is clear to all of you. I want to answer in this case whether credit can be denied on the basis of 16, subsection 2, clause C. Say yes or no. Say yes or no. I just want to answer in a question answers tab, yes or no. So you all are saying no to me, right? Maximum are no answers. Now, listen. This is the first context I'm drawing from Gujarat High Court judgment. Though Gujarat High Court judgment is saying it's a constitutionally valid, but again, giving the context that in all such cases, you can't invoke section 16, subsection 2, clause C. There should be some window and mechanism. See, beyond L1 supplier, immediate supplier, as a recipient, you can't check L2 and L3. There's no window available. You do not know whether L2, L3 is paying the taxes or not. There's no window available. Doctrine of impossibility. And department want to put onus on us, on recipient. And that too after 3 years, 4 years, transaction of 18-19, disputed in 22-23. Irony. So these are subjective points, but look at the Gujarat High Court judgment, how beautifully they have carved out. Though they are saying it's constitutionally valid, but they're carving out that in all such cases, which I'm referring to, L2, L3, GST must come out with a mechanism. And they can't push and penalize. Onus lies on department only. So I'm reading those relevant para of Gujarat High Court judgment. Let me share my screen so that we all can read together, because 3 paragraphs important. Hope my screen is, you can see my screen. It is available. Okay.
Visible.
Perfect. So look at this now, which I want to draw here. Just allow me. Look at the para 87 final observation. And this is important. There are only 3 para which I'm going to read it. Para 87 says, it is not the case of government or department that it is destitute or it's vulnerable to the inaction of the seller, supplier, who has not paid the taxes. The Act provides GST authorities with enough power to proceed against the selling dealer, supplier for recovery of taxes. So what Honorable Gujarat High Court is saying, that GST law is giving wide power to the department take action against the defaulting supplier for recovery of taxes because he has not deposited. Section 73 and 74 of GST Act also empower the department to proceed against the defaulting party's supplier in case of non-payment, short payment, and wrongly utilization of credit. Good one. And this is what the context, and whenever any authority want to invoke Bhandari scrap traders, you must quote these paras. These 3 para is important, which is coming from Gujarat High Court judgment of Maruti Enterprises, which is relied upon by Supreme Court while dismissing SLP in Bhandari scrap traders. Then further, a balanced approach is needed, which finds place in the decision expressed by European Court of Justice in the case of Excel Kittel. Under this principle, availment of ITC can be denied only if it is shown that, please bear in mind, shown that recipient knew, recipient को मालूम है, or ought to have been known, या उसको मालूम पड़ गया था, that their purchase was connected with a fraudulent evasion of tax. So your credit can be denied only when you know that your supplier is not depositing and you're connected with a fraudulent evasion of tax. So this need to be factual position, need to be proven. So please bear in your mind the context which I'm discussing. I discussed 2 contexts, right? Context 1, where you know that your supplier is not depositing, still you're availing credit. You need to reverse. Second case, you have all compliances, documentation, GSTR 1, 3B filing of your supplier, and as per the information, documentation available, you know that your supplier is depositing the tax, but there is a concept of L2, L3, getting whole mess. And in that case, can you say your credit can be denied? Look at it, is saying you were not knowing, doctrine of impossibility. You can't see beyond the immediate supplier. How you can be penalized? But nevertheless, look at para 88, again interesting one. Albeit we acknowledge that the provision of section 16, subsection 2, clause C of the Act are to be viewed from a regulatory standpoint and are anchored in the legitimate objective of maintaining the integrity of tax chain, preventing systematic revenue loss to the government. I'm agreeing. We all want there should not be loss to the government, but for their own loss, they could not create the mechanism. They can't penalize buyer. Now read it. What Honorable High Court is saying is not it's the part of judgment only. It is high time, in order to resolve this particular dispute, the government undertakes a comprehensive re-evaluation of the dicey situation where purchasers are facing. We are facing this problem. There is pressing need for legislative amendment, what High Court is saying, there is pressing need for legislative amendment or clarification to be issued within the GST framework to alleviate the disproportionate financial and administrative burden currently placed upon the purchaser who have an honest claim of ITC. Are we not saying that? Gujarat High Court is saying the same stuff. They are saying either the GST Council or CBIC do bring some legislative amendment or a clarification for the honest, genuine and honest buyer. So what could be the documentation? My all condition of 16 subsection 2 tax invoice, receipt of goods, banking channel payment, regularly filing 3B by recipient, 1 and 3B status of the supplier, everything is available, then they are genuine and honest. Just because of L2, L3 not paid, or they are found to be non-existent, that too after a considerable time period gap, you can't say that credit is not available. So even High Court is acknowledging this point, and they want legislative amendment or clarification. But read further. Beyond the mere policy changes, government should implement a robust, technology-driven tracking mechanism enabling verification of payment made by supplier against specific invoices in real-time basis, thereby insulating bona fide recipient from the default of their vendors. So even High Court is acknowledging they must be protected from the defaulting supplier. Simultaneously, government has to take prompt and immediate steps for recovery of tax from the defaulting erring suppliers instead of compelling the purchasers to avail themselves of alternate cumbersome remedies. What is department confirming order? Reversal of credit, and wanted me to take alternate remedy of appellate mechanism by payment of 10% pre-deposit. So even High Court is also acknowledging these are not the good practice. Government has to take prompt and immediate steps for recovery of tax from erring supplier, defaulting suppliers, instead of compelling buyer to go for alternate cumbersome remedies. In the absence of stringent oversight, unscrupulous sellers could potentially enrich themselves. So even High Court is saying such suppliers, those who are defaulter, enrich themselves at the expense of both public exchequer and honest buyers. After reading para 88, you must be acknowledging that our grievances are being captured in Gujarat High Court judgment of Maruti Enterprises. Let's read, then I will give you my context to you also. Para 89, last para. Since we are not inclined to read down section 16(2)(c), so Honorable Gujarat High Court has said they are not inclined to read down. Question of declaring it ultra vires, 3 to the Constitution of India, including Article 14 to the Constitution of India, does not arise. However, we expect government to address the issue of genuine purchaser at the earliest. The registry shall now list the caption writ petition, some other writ petition on merit matter. That's what they have said. So I have done this sharing part. Let me again come back to you into the main screen. Okay, just a minute. Okay,
Yeah.
All right. All right. So I've stopped the screen sharing. I have read only 3 para of Gujarat High Court judgment, clearly distinguishing, though 16 subsection 2 clause C constitutionally valid, they are not inclined to read down the provision. They are not ready to discuss Article 14. They are saying constitutionally valid. But what they are saying, yes, we acknowledge that there is no window available whereby the genuine and honest buyer are not getting protection. So 2 points stated, either legislative amendment or clarification. So if I look at Bhandari scrap traders today, it is only concluding. Now, please bear in your mind. As of now, first you tell me you're with me. If you all are with me, show me thumbs up. So that when I'm going ahead, at least I will be synced with you. Please thumbs up that you all are synced with me. Then I will give you my perspective. Yeah. Okay. All right. So many thumbs up. So thank you very much. Thank you. Listen now carefully. Listen now carefully. As per Maruti Enterprises conclusion point, constitutionally valid 16(2)(c). Bhandari scrap traders, Supreme Court declining SLP admission. 16(2)(c) constitutionally valid, but subject to, which is acknowledged by Honorable Gujarat High Court, that there should be some protection mechanism whereby we can protect the genuine buyer. Otherwise, it is creating loss to both government exchequer and to the genuine buyer. But now question will come, do we have such protection mechanism? Do we have such protection mechanism? As on date, invoice label checking, corresponding payment by the supplier can't be verified, though they have got invoice management system. What is invoice management system, by the way? They introduced from October 24 optionally, made it compulsory from October 25. Under IMS, supplier, when I'm raising invoice and furnishing my GST-R1, you can view that invoice on your IMS dashboard. Recipient can view such invoice on IMS dashboard. Being recipient, either you can accept, reject, pending, or no action. No action means deemed accepted. Now, if this invoice belongs to you, quite obvious, you will accept. Once you accept, it will flow to your 2B, and from 2B to 3B. But problem lies here, which is my liability in GST-R1. Since there is no permanent locking on 3B numbers, so whatever liability coming in 1, flowing to 3B, if it gets locked, locking of GST-R 3B, which is under discussion for a long time. Some schools saying locking should be done. Some schools saying locking should not be done. If locking is done, then quite obvious 1 lakh rupees invoice coming in 1, auto-populated in 3B for the supplier as liability, and it is flowing in your 2B and then 3B as a recipient. Everything is matched. Everything is matched. Then obviously we can say at invoice label, payment is cross-checked. Invoice label, payment is cross-checked. But today, locking is not applicable. So you can do editing part in your 3B. So with guarantee, we can't say on the invoice, payment is being done. So to that extent, till that time, locking is being done. So this locking is also playing important role. So two schools, one school says, no, if we have made mistake in 1, and if you don't allow me to correct, then it will create problem. But this locking again playing 2-way. But as on date, my submission was there is no window available, whereby we can say on invoice level payment is cross-checked. So this is a practical scenario till today, as on date, when I'm making this presentation, 10th of August 2026, there is no window available, no mechanism available where we can say with guarantee and certainty invoice level payment is being made and cross-checked and verified. So this is the position as on date. So first you say yes, then I will come to the second succeeding point on this. Say yes, yes, you're agreeing to it, that there is no window available. Say yes in a question answers tab. Say yes in question answers tab. Perfect. If you say there is no window available, then what Honorable Gujarat High Court is saying? Create a mechanism. Do legislative amendment. So my part would be government has to come out with scheme, and scheme could be for two different periods. Past period versus future. Future maybe we all are waiting for 57th GST Council meeting. 6 months time lag is there. We heard from the public domain only that they are thinking on 16.2C, that something they will come out, not sure. But looking at Gujarat High Court judgment, now listen carefully. Looking at Gujarat High Court judgment, my humble submission and my personal opinion would be, of course, it's saying constitutionally valid. 16.2C is constitutionally valid. Of course, this is the answer and can't be read down. But at the same time, they are saying for the past period, the built-in protection mechanism can be applied only when there is some mechanism given on the window, GST and portal, automated, which is not available today. So if I can substantiate to the authority two probable situation. In first situation, if you know that your supplier is not depositing the tax, if you knew or ought to have known that fact that your supplier is not depositing, but still you are taking credit, then you bound to reverse credit. Second situation, you have all compliances, documentation, and as per compliances, you're firm that taxes are being paid to the supplier, and thereafter you do not know anything like L2, L3, non-existent, supplier registration cancelled with a retrospective date. You're not the party to it. Doctrine of impossibility. In all such cases, even Gujarat High Court has acknowledged that this is a practical problem and hurting to the genuine and honest buyer. So government should either make legislative amendment or come out with a clarification. That's what I read in para 88. So to my mind, you should not apply Bhandari scrap traders as a ratio decidendi. It is only obiter dicta in case it has been quoted. So if any GST authority blindly following Bhandari scrap traders, then you have pointers to argue and pointers to defend yourself with your documentation. So this would be the crux point which I wanted to pass on to all of you. So having said that, now coming back to the conclusion part, and then I will take your question and answer on 16.2C. My last and humble submission. Recently, Honorable Supreme Court has dismissed the SLP filed against one of the favorable judgment in favor of a taxpayer, Safecon Life Science. Safecon Life Science. What was that judgment? That the supplier registration got cancelled, retrospective date. Department is disputing ITC is not available because your supplier registration got cancelled with a retrospective date. Before Allahabad High Court, which has given the favorable judgment in favor of a taxpayer, what Honorable Allahabad High Court has said, when this recipient having all documentation, invoice, eBay bill, LR copy, bigman slip, truck photo, 1(3)B status of supplier, banking channel payment, and then filing of 3B by recipient, everything, all document in place in the hands of recipient. Just because you are cancelling registration of supplier, that too with retrospective date, does not mean that buyer will not get credit. That was the judgment of Allahabad High Court. SLP filed by revenue got dismissed at admission stage in 11(9), but it is having persuasive value for all the buyers. Just because supplier registration cancelled. And subsequently, one more argument which I'm also picking up, you may also pick up. If my sale is not disputed, how come my purchase is disputed? Where from I will get inventory? Just because supplier registration cancelled. I got genuine purchase, all documentation in place, your mechanism is not available, you can't penalize genuine and honest buyer. So that is what the context I'm drawing. And this judgment which I'm referring, SEPCON like science, is again good judgment for the taxpayer. So looking at 16(2)C Bhandari scrap traders, the conclusion is constitutionally valid, no problem, but only for those supplier who knew that their supplier is not depositing the tax. Otherwise, what is the meaning of 2A, 2B versus 3B matching? You know, circular number 183, circular number 193. And in those circular, department CBIC has said that department should take action against the defaulting supplier. We need to only demonstrate it is auto-populated in 2A, 2B. And auto-populated in 2A, 2B means what? If my supplier has filed one L3B, which is deposit of tax, and status is showing filed, so my 2A, 2B match with 3B for the recipient. If you find something back of immediate supplier, L2, L3, non-existent, cancellation of registration of supplier, then you should go to the defaulting supplier. That is what even Gujarat High Court is saying, built in some protection mechanism, which is as on date not available, or do some legislative amendment. This is the important context we must draw when we are looking Gujarat High Court judgment of Maruti Enterprises, which is complete and respectful agreement Supreme Court has relied upon. And they have distinguished their earlier Supreme Court judgment of VAT, Shanti Kiran and Quest Merchandising. So this is what the summary of complete digest of, but nevertheless, what are the action you can take at your end for a better protection? First, let's include indemnity clause in your contract with your supplier. Indemnity clause. So that for any loss on account of supplier, you are indemnified. First, please revisit all those contracts. Second, I've seen in PSU, public sector undertaking, what they do, they make sure unless you pay the liability and submit the 3B status, they are not discharging the GST component. They are withholding the GST component. So their payment is linked with the GST payment compliances. In PSU, I've seen, which is sometimes bottleneck, financial working capital bottleneck in the hands of supplier. But other way around, it is also creating some protection for the recipient. So you need to go back, revisit the status of your supplier compliances. If you want to link payment with the GST payment, of course, in your protection, you can do that. That is quite available to you. Third, compliance status, like supplier compliance rating. They are filing of 1, filing of 3B. And please keep close watch. And that is important for your credit, because buyer's credit not dependent on supplier. coming back to the last conclusion part, what best we can do. It's a regular practice. But now, having said that, if you want me to put my comment, can I see some relief from the government side? When High Court is also saying you either do legislative amendment or bring clarification, that is the basis they are saying constitutionally valid, and you should not penalize genuine and honest buyer. To my mind, of course, we will get some kind of clarification or one time of amnesty. This is the one part. And second part, maybe locking of numbers, figures. Let's say if you filed one wrongly filed, you end up paying the taxes because locking up your GST or 3B number. If it is excess, then of course, subsequent tax period, you can get it adjusted. So the locking will also create some kind of sensitivity, making verification of number furnished in the return. This is one way from discipline perspective. But those who want to keep it open, they are also not giving window to the government, how they can create the mechanism. So maybe stakeholders meeting, CBIC and GST Council must take a lead, and they should push this subject matter to the industry, trade, industry, and commerce, take the input, insight, because ultimately, if we want to protect genuine and honest buyer, we have to take certain mechanism. Maybe locking up 3B important, then importantly needed. And that's what my submission would be. Maybe it is not sweet to some other lobby, but what to be done? Buyer's credit is going for a loss. So something has to be looked into, and maybe it will bring more discipline, bring more clarity, bring more auto checking and verification, and some window mechanism. And then government can come back and say, after that, they will not dispute. In case locking is being done, after that, government should say they will not dispute section 16, subsection 2, clause C of CGST Act. So if this all perspective which is being discussed today is being taken in holistic manner, maybe we can see light of the day when we are saying it's constitutionally valid and it can't be read down. So mechanisms need to be taken. So I thought from my side to give a complete flavor of this Gujarat High Court judgment, discuss holistically what are the challenges, grievances, how this judgment is, how it is traveling, what are the different things. But one more point which I forgot, let me draw here. If department has collected some money from a supplier, let's assume, same case, if department has collected some money from a supplier, how recipient would be knowing? Is there any window available? Law saying if defaulting supplier pays the liability, recipient is entitled for availing credit, re-availing the credit. But where is the window available? I should know. I will come to know that department has recovered some money from the defaulting supplier. So they should not demand reversal to that extent, right? But what is the window available? Might be I'm asking government, CBIC and GST Council policy being to look into, because it needs alignment from multiple corners. Just saying constitutionally valid, yes, agreed, but without this mechanism, this constitutional validity is to be tested. But otherwise, legally, requires some mechanism. Law is there, but law need to be backed up by the support which we all are looking for. So a lot of things are there around. So I've given my food for thought. In case you feel like you have got a number of other points connected to 16.2C, you can always write back on my social media channel. If you like Insta, you can join my Insta, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are comfortable. You can write back to me. And of course, I'm also compiling my pointers to submit to the GST Council and CBIC policy being to get something good for genuine and honest buyer. Thanking each one of you for taking out your time and discussing with me. Thank you very much. And now we will start question answer session, handing over to hers to take it forward.
Thank you, sir, and thank you to all the attendees. We have had a very good session today. Before we start questions, I know maximum attendees are with us. So people in and around Maharashtra, Bimal sir is coming on 22nd August at Sofitel BKC, and this time we are from Zoho Books angle or Zoho angle, we are doing it a lunch event because we feel that in the night the session goes so beyond our stipulated hours of 2 hours, it's not sufficient. So this time we tried that why not we bring in for lunch so that we have the whole day open for us. Sir will be gracing us from 11 a.m. onwards at Sofitel BKC, I repeat, on 22nd of August. It is a Saturday. Sir will be there with us and you can ask any questions you want, be it GST, be it your personal life, be your any legal problems, and it is completely free. The only thing that we demand is your time with us. And after the session of Sir, we will be networking over lunch event. So thanks again. Yes, sir.
I will add one more thing, hers.
Yes, sir.
Why Mumbai, Pan India? Of course, this program at Mumbai, Sofitel at BKC Mumbai on 22nd August. So we are doing this GST Chronicles with Zoho Books, followed by lunch, all complimentary. You need to just RSVP, registered yourself, and do come. We can discuss so many issues of GST. Apart from GST, also in case you want to discuss something with me personally, be available. Delight, get your seat registered because it is limited seats are available. So in case you get registered, you're in, and join us for this GST Chronicles at Mumbai, followed by lunch. Now we are starting with the question answer session.
Thank you, sir. So first question by Neha Pandey. See, many of the topics that sir has discussed might have been answered, so sir might be answering the same way as well. So first question by Neha Pandey. If supplier had filed GSTR1 and paid tax in 3B, payment also made to supplier, but department is arguing that e-way bill not passed through toll.
Neha ji, I have seen that there's a judgment from Allahabad High Court that the truck not particular toll. And Honorable Allahabad High Court has said there is no provision that the truck must move from the designated toll. It may move from any corner. Only thing, receipt of goods must be cross-checked. So department is disputing, but to my mind, this cannot go forward. You can just check Allahabad High Court. Otherwise, you can just put your comment on my any Insta, any account. Back to you with the citation, which will help you to defend your case.
Right, sir. Moving on to next question by Advocate Tejas Vinod Bhai Panchal. Retrospective GST number cancelled, but GSTR 3B was filed. Can I be liable for reversal or pay tax, and department can take view of SC judgment?
Tejas ji, I have clearly discussed that department cannot, and I given the justification also. So maybe we have to adopt those justification and from that Gujarat High Court judgment only. So I'm of the view we can defend ourselves.
I think the next question by Mr. Sanjay Agarwal. X is supplier and say ABC are customers. X supplied goods to ABC of rupees 20 lakh, rupees 17 lakh and 13 lakh respectively. X also purchased goods from Y. X has turnover of rupees 50 lakhs on which tax liability is rupees 9 lakhs. X purchased from Y say goods worth rupees 30 lakh on which ITC credit was rupees 5.4 lakh. Thus, net liability is rupees 3.6 lakhs. X defaulted in payment of net tax of rupees 5.4. What will be the consequence of non-payment of tax by X on input credits available to ABC?
See, to the extent of non-payment of taxes, it will be tax liability, but only problem is invoice level payment matching, which is not available as on date. Otherwise, to the extent not paid, that should be reversed. Whatever paid should not be reversed. That should be the crux of the story, Sanjay ji. Next.
Moving to Ashwin Tannaji. Both the recipient and suppliers are registered and under the GST law. Only registered dealer can raise the invoice and charge the tax. Means he is agent of the government. Who collect the tax from buyer has to deposit to government exchequer. Can we not argue that supplier who collected taxes, the prime liability of the supplier to deposit taxes, and should not be held liable rather than buyer?
Ashwini ji, that is what I discussed in last 1 hour. That if at all you need to put penalty, it should be on defaulting supplier, not on recipient. But if provision is being made from for section 2 rated rule 37A, then be some automated mechanism required, which is not available as on date. Otherwise, I'm completely agreeing and seconding your view. Defaulting supplier must be punished.
Understood. Moving to next question by Mr. Amit Jorvekar. If a supplier is found to have committed GST fraud and the GST department later cancels his registration, but the supplier had already filed GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B for the relevant period, can we claim ITC on genuine purchases made from him when the invoices are reflected in our GSTR 28 by 2B?
Quite obvious, Amit ji. I discussed this part as well with the SEPCON licensement. If you are having genuine purchase and for some region of evasion by supplier, for which you are not in connivance, you're having all documentation which is proving your genuine and honest buying, match with the 2A, 2B versus 3B, then to my mind, your credit should not be denied. And that's what the judgment coming from Allahabad High Court, SLP filed by Revenue, got dismissed.
Right. Moving on to Ruchir Vahiki's question. So both in case of Bhandari Scrap Traders and Safecon Life Science Private Limited, the Honorable SC has rejected the SLP. Does rejection of SLP and not interfering with High Court judgment without discussing in detail is having authoritative value, or it is always open to alternate view by another bench of SC?
My mind, yes, it is only obiter dicta. It cannot precedent. Because if I look at the Gujarat High Court judgment, which is only on constitutional validity with subjective point of legislative amendment or clarification by the GST Council. So it is not authoritative for the region that is not available. So on those factuals, we can defend and can have different judgment from the Supreme Court. So it is only obiter dicta, can be at most. And it is not getting into doctrine of merger. And I will not say it is binding law in terms of Article 141 to the Constitution of India. That is my personal opinion.
Like Chandan Das, the GST registration of the concerned supplier has been cancelled retrospectively by the tax authorities. Although we have all valid supporting documents, including tax invoices, proof of delivery, and payment records, to substantiate that the purchases were genuine, we need to reverse the claim ITC in accordance with GST regulations to ensure compliance. Kindly process the ITC reversal in our upcoming GSTR 3B return and adjust our ledger accordingly.
If you are having everything to substantiate, then why you need to reverse? Mr. Das, you need not require it. That should be your point of defense. That should be a point of defense. If you are having genuine purchase, all documentation, you can prove delivery and everything. Why you need to reverse? If you want to reverse, then you can give relief to the government only. But to my mind, no need to reverse, Mr. Das.
All right, sir. So we have few more questions. How many would you want to take, sir?
Take 3, 4, 5, whatever we can do it.
I've posted, sir, and I'll just read out as well.
Yeah.
By Krishna Kumar Mittal. Sir, section 16(2) by C was always on the statute.
Where you posted? Just a minute.
In the chat section of yours.
Just a minute. Krishna Kumar Mittal. Yes.
Yeah. Was always on the statute book, I suppose, even before this SC judgment. I think it does not override the various judgments of high courts, where rights of genuine buyers with respect to ITC has been protected. In cases where both GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B has been filed by L1 supplier.
Kishanji, you are right. That is what we have discussed at length, and we have said when all supporting document, all other compliances are being made, along with the GSTR1 3B filing of the supplier, then quite obvious this Bhandari scrap status cannot be applied and it cannot be merged. That is what I said and repeating again for the sake. And we can always distinguish this Bhandari scrap status on the pointers, whatever we discussed.
So maybe Ravi Jain is making a statement, but I'll just read out. If we hold the GST payment till the party discharges tax liability, it may create additional liability of interest on late payment to MSME supplier.
Ravi, I agree. Raviji, completely agreed. What to be done now at this point of time? Now they are, 2020 situation. I have to ensure that my supplier is paying the taxes. If I hold back the interest liability, yes, I agree. I'm not denying that one. So completely agreeable to you, but what to be done, that's what the window, and we all are looking some kind of window from government side. But otherwise, you are right in questioning that.
Right. Next question with Himanshu Purohit ji. Good evening, sir. In my case, supplier take registration on February 24th and I purchased goods from them on February 24th. And I had invoice, e-way bill and bank transfer proof as well. Here, department told me that the suppliers claim bogus ITC in GSTR 3B. Only there is no ITC reflected in their GSTR 2B and demand me to reverse my ITC.
Himansuji, same thing, L2 and L3 in the supply chain. How am I responsible? I can only see the compliances of my immediate supplier. Beyond that, there's no window available. How you can penalize me? Go and take action against the L2 and L3. You're not taking action against them, no window available, and you want to penalize my buyer. So that is what I have discussed at length, and that is even Gujarat High Court is saying there should be some window mechanism available for providing support to the genuine and honest buyer. So we need to defend ourselves, and definitely we can defend ourselves.
All right. Mostly last question of the day, again by Chandan Das ji. I'm writing to clarify the status of input tax credit for transactions with one of our suppliers. The supplier uploaded the invoices in their GSTR1, which are properly reflected in our GSTR 2A and 2B. However, they failed to pay taxes through GSTR 3B, and subsequently, their GST registration was rescinded or cancelled by the authorities. Please note that we have completed all transactions in good faith and hold valid supporting documents.
Mr. Das has not filed 3B, then their status is visible to you that they have not filed 3B, even though auto-populated by filing GSTR1, but filing status of 3B is not there. When you can see the filing status is not filed, then your supplier has not paid the taxes. So how you'd be then defending yourself? And here you have a catch. And you knew that your supplier has not paid the taxes, of which you have availed the credit. To my mind, it is very subjective issue and may fall back on you. Sorry to say that, but that is what the two category which I was discussing with all of you. And with the reference of European Court of Justice in Gujarat High Court judgment, Mr. Das.
Right, sir. I think we are through for the day, and I seem that you are also a little tired, I think. So.
It's not like tired. Since the day we start, we do a lot of work.
Absolutely.
That is what it is going on. But nevertheless, I want to thank each participant. At least they are taking out your time. My personal thanks to each one of you. Those who are still waiting to say goodbye to each other. So thanking each one of you. Take care of yourself. Yes, 22nd of August at Mumbai, BKC. Please do join. I'll be delighted. But get yourself registered ASAP. Anything you want to ask, put a comment on my social media, Insta, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're comfortable. And this video going to be uploaded in coming 2-3 days. Credit goes to hers and Zoho Books. Thanking Zoho Book also taking this initiative for making GST indeed good and simple tax. Thank you very much.
So much of kind words. Again, everyone, thank you for joining us. See you, and this webinar will be uploaded in 2 to 3 days. You have my word. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.